Um, well, if you can volley the ball, you've seen the who's that the really pretty girl Marv no DC super not Superwoman. Is she Superwoman? I
Wonder
think she's
Woman.
Wonder Woman. What? They sorry, it's already past 6 p.m. and my brain is just not working anymore after 6.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Sports Season podcast, where we get to know the sports that you know about and those that you should know about. I am Javi Sison, and for this episode, we'll be taking our conversations to the sands and talk about beach volleyball. Today, we'll be setting our questions to a UAAP volleyball champion with the Ateneo Lady Eagles, and both a founder and multi-titled champion of the Beach Volleyball Republic, none other than Bea Tan. Bea, thank you again for coming
Hi.
on the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Jigo.
Yeah, so we've been on quarantine, we've been on lockdown for quite a while now. What have you been up to? What have you been doing to keep busy?
Well, I didn't think that the quarantine was gonna be this long. I thought it was gonna be like for a 30-day period, and here we
Yeah,
are. It's what how it's almost 6 months that I'm here in Bacolod. I flew in here right before the lockdown. They said it was gonna be a 30-day kind of thing,
yeah,
and a lot of things happened already from March to August. It's basically like up to now we're still in denial that this thing is actually happening. Like,
yeah,
but as it goes, well, there's no volleyball right now. There's no tournaments or events. Um, Mostly for the past 5 years, we've been busy with Beach Volleyball Republic, creating tournaments every maybe probably like twice a month almost
yeah,
in different beaches, and all of a sudden that's just put on hold, and we didn't even think that it was already 4 or 5 years that has gone by. But right now we're taking a break, and I guess like it's a good pause as well. At the very least, that we get to take a breather in terms of where we really want to take Beach Volleyball Republic. But as an athlete, it's very frustrating because, well, being an organizer and an athlete at the same time, I feel like I'm hit twice. I'm shot
yeah,
twice because I can't do events, which I do really love organizing, and I can't play as well. So, the matter of fact, like I've only been trying to keep up with my fitness just because I have at the very least hope that one day all of a sudden we can just play right away, and at the very least I can still jump same way as I jumped like a year ago or whatever. So there, just keeping up with my fitness, taking a step back with the tournament with Beach Volleyball Republic, and planning for the future. That's just really what we can do right now.
yeah. No, so you mentioned, yeah, that there's no volleyball right now. Here in the country, I don't think any sports events have resumed yet. But abroad, we've seen football leagues, baseball games, and even the NBA in the bubble resuming already. Considering you're an organizer for Beach Volleyball Republic, have you guys thought about or considered that kind of style in resuming play?
There's a lot of things. If it were just up to me, I would really want to at the very least cross the road already with regards to like adapting to the new normal and trying to figure it out how we can actually adapt to the new normal. Because if we don't try, how the hell are we gonna learn how to
Yeah.
create tournaments with this pandemic and with the COVID going on if we don't at the very least try? But I know there's a lot of risk being posed
Mm,
upon us with regards to that, and considering that we're in the Philippines and we're not really too advanced with everything, the healthcare
mm,
system, everything's just going crazy, and I may say, um it's very hard for us. But if it were up to me, I would definitely figure out ways if it were just up to me. But there's so many other things to consider: the IATF, the
yeah.
governing body of the sports governing body of the Philippines. So there's a lot of politics that comes into play there as well. We follow what the indoor volleyball does because we're from the same umbrella company. I mean, umbrella
Mhm.
federation, which is the LVPI right now, which is under FIVB. So, um, there are talks already with regards to, at the very least, creating a beach volleyball tournament, because we see in Europe and in the States they've already started their beach volleyball tournaments. um that at the very least gives us more optimism with regards to, as compared to indoor volleyball uh games. So yeah, best case scenario, if we can, we're pushing for a December tournament, if
Okay.
that, if all the governing body goes in line with it.
Yeah. Okay. We'll get more into the BVR later, but you mentioned, yeah, that you're under the same umbrella as indoor volleyball. I wanted to kind of get the difference or get the basics of beach volleyball first. So for me personally, because I'm not as familiar with beach volleyball, I've tried it, I guess, leisurely, when you go on vacations. But as a sport, I think it'd be nice to learn more about it. So um, considering you're under the same umbrella, would you consider beach volleyball as a completely different sport from volleyball? I guess an example
um
I could give would be, for example, table tennis and tennis are nothing alike, but
yeah.
futsal and football are pretty close. 3x3 basketball and 5-on-5 are definitely almost the same thing. So
Mhm.
I guess where would you compare it there?
Well, if it's anything skill wise, it's very similar. You dig, you hit, you spike. But if you go deeper into it, it's a totally different sport, because number one, it's on the sand, it's outdoor, and from 6 versus 6, it becomes just 2 versus 2. So the entire gameplay is totally different with regards to, like, every, as a beach volleyball player, you really need to be good at all the skills. It's not specialized, whereas in indoor volleyball, they're mostly focused on, there's a blocker, there's a middle hitter, there's an open spiker, there's someone who's good at hitting, and there's someone who's good at defense, and there's a setter. So with beach volleyball, it's basically all in one. If you're gonna dig, you very well know how to set and to hit, because that's the entire, like, gist of the game. A player will hit, will dig, will set, and serve all at once. So you need to know all the skills. That's number one. And the 2 versus 2 against, in the indoor volleyball, it's 6 versus 6. So that's one thing that's obviously different with that one. And if you're a beach volleyball player and also have experienced indoor volleyball player, it's a totally different sport per se, because all the approach is different. It would, in my experience, it's actually good to cross train beach and
Okay.
go back to indoor, but not indoor then go back to beach. So it could be a good cross training, the beach volleyball for indoor volleyball, but not reverse. So there, it's outdoor, you have more elements, whereas in the indoor volleyball, it's more controlled. You're in an air conditioned gym for the most part.
Yeah. So actually, yeah, I wanted to talk about that, yung being outdoor, being in I guess in a more natural state. So when you're organizing it, when you're playing it, what are the difficulties you face? Like, obviously, I guess weather, wind. Does the type of
Mhm.
sand play a factor?
Yeah, definitely. Actually, like, I've worked with Sir John with the sand classifications, in especially, most especially in Beach Volleyball Republic, that we've organized so many tournaments already. We already know, like, more than us as players hating the wind when we play, and the tides, and how the sand is too loose. As organizers, it hits us even more, because we can't have an event wherein there's bagyo, or there's too much wind, because it plays a lot of factor with the entertainment the fun factor of watching a game. So it's at the end of the day a spectator sport. We bring it all around the Philippines in different coastal areas to entertain people to get into the sport, to promote it. So we want as much as possible that at the very least it's a conducive environment wherein there's no bagyo, there's no typhoon, and some of the water levels with certain times in certain areas can actually
Yeah.
also go up really high. And there are times wherein we would play and there's already water on the court. So tides play a lot as well. Like if it's 3 p.m. and it's high tide, we can't play anymore. So we need to fit like a weekender event for 2 days and have to make sure that the number of games played would fit that certain time. So there's a lot of things that come in play when you try to create events or play outside outdoors.
Yeah. What about with regards to the because you mentioned earlier that the cross training is good in certain scenarios. What's the difference in terms of training? Like, for example, is it a whole another regimen of training as compared to indoor?
I guess to be technical about it, uh it's good cross training, the beach volleyball for indoor volleyball, because of the sand factor. So it brings more weight, it brings more difficulty with regards to like the movements and everything. So when you train on sand and you go back indoor, you're a lot faster, you can jump
Okay.
higher because you've been training on sand. um and with regards to like the strength and conditioning, I guess, um beach volleyball, I say, would probably, and indoor volleyball is more of like a dance. The less you do and the quicker you get to a certain point, the better, than being like all you go here, you go there, but really you're not getting anywhere. So agility is almost the same thing, but in on sand, it there's a lot more difficulty when it comes to it. So you need to be quicker there. That's why it helps when you move to indoor, because
Yeah.
it there's no more sand and you can move faster.
With regards to for example, because yeah, my experience mostly in basketball and height plays a big factor, and I know in a sense that's also a factor in indoor volleyball. It's an advantage of some sort. Does it translate also when you go to the beach?
Wait, sorry. Can you say that again?
Yeah. No. In basketball, for me at least, height was definitely a factor. It's an advantage, and I think it's the same with volleyball. But would that translate also to the beach?
Um, Although there are a lot of players who are not so like tall and can perform really well, that I've seen it, Japanese teams that are 5'6", 5'7",
Mm.
not so tall compared to like Western players when they're like 6 on average. They could still be more agile. They could still move faster, move quicker. But height is definitely an advantage if for beach volleyball, because you can get to the ball, you can slam those balls pretty quickly and easily, you can block balls better. But with if I say though, we have some great players in CC Rondina that's not so
Yeah.
tall but can jump really really high and can be really quick and doesn't get tired, because on the sand you need all the cardio advantage that you can get, because it's very tiring to play on the sand, considering that it's just the two of you moving all the time. So height would definitely be an advantage, but at the end of the day it boils down to how fit you are on the sand, and how how much how fast you can get with the least amount of effort, as what I've said earlier. And we have really good players from Davao as well that are not so tall but can move, don't even move. They just read the ball. They don't even move that much anymore. They're just so efficient with their movements that it becomes their advantage. So you can play a lot of things, because I guess the sand makes everything a lot equal for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you were mentioning CC and Dina. I wanted to ask. CC is an example of someone who's really good both indoor and on the beach. But it like you were mentioning earlier, it doesn't really necessarily translate that if you're good on indoor, you're good on the beach, and vice versa. What do you think is why do you think that is? Like, why are some players able to dominate on both courts, but some are not able to?
I guess it's really just it as an athlete. Like I get for me, it's really how much you want to play, how much you enjoy playing, how much you really want to perform in it. Because I don't think that there's any excuse with regards to like if you put a certain amount of hours, um okay, so like if you put a certain amount of hours and you're all in the same level, and considering if you're gonna play beach volleyball and indoor volleyball at the same time, I think it boils down to really how much you want to perform better at a certain point. You get me? Like,
Yeah.
I won't perform so well if I didn't really put enough effort, didn't put enough time, I didn't put enough practice with anything that I do. So if it's beach volleyball or indoor volleyball, it's more of the, I guess, what you love more. So you spend more time in it and you practice more, because that's what I think. Like I've seen a lot of players that weren't that good but performed a lot better because they dedicated a lot of time for practicing something. So that's the only reason why I would think that you would perform better at something, maybe indoor volleyball or beach volleyball.
Okay.
Did I answer
Um.
your question?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. um. Okay. So now I kind of wanted to go into more of your career and your journey to where you are now. So to start, for me growing up, here in the Philippines in an all boys school, basketball was without a doubt the most popular sport, and it's generally accepted that in the country that's the case. But I
Yes.
feel like sometimes that's more from a guy's perspective. So you're actually the first lady that I've been able to interview. So I wanted to get your thoughts on what was for you growing up the sport or the most popular sport or the one that almost everyone tried when they were younger.
Um, huh. The thing is, growing up, I wasn't really privy into what's trending or what's uso. I
Okay.
was more of like, what's the least, where would be the least amount of people there be, and I'll go there. But it all ended up to being playing volleyball because someone just asked me to play in one of our sports fests. That's about it. But like with
Okay.
regards to like what's uso, growing up, it was ballet. Like
Okay.
all the parents here in Bacolod, not necessarily like for girls, like there was no sports really.
Yeah.
Diba? I mean, as I can recall, my mom signed me up for ballet and not volleyball, and would actually pay for me to learn ballet. But I was skipping all those ballet classes to go for an indoor volleyball training. So there wasn't really much promotions for girls to play sports. I think it's only recently actually that
Yeah.
girls are now getting into sports. Even women's volleyball have been, it's not so long ago that it was this popular. So I've
Mhm.
seen a time wherein it's not anywhere near how popular it is right now. So yeah, ballet was a thing back when we were growing up.
So okay, so you chose volleyball. I mean, okay, not really choose, but you ended up in volleyball, and you it
I actually pretty
until
much
all the way
chose
to college.
volleyball. I actually pretty much chose volleyball because it was either track and field or volleyball. Track
Okay.
and field was the first sport that I tried competitively because it was the first sport before volleyball in the sports fest I joined. So I
Mm.
got recruited. I got recruited for track and field first before I was recruited for volleyball. But I ended up choosing volleyball when I had to go to regionals for both, but they were
Mhm.
pressuring me to choose just one. So I ended up choosing volleyball because I have my teammates, and not really like
Yeah,
if I was a kid at like 10 years old, do I really want to just run alone or like play with my friends? I'd rather play with my friends.
true.
There.
Um, okay, so when was the shift, or when did you get introduced and start playing beach volleyball? Considering indoor was more popular.
I tried it. I tried it when I was in second year high school. My coach brought me to. We live in. I study in Bacolod. I studied in Bacolod, University of Saint LaSalle, Bacolod, and then I had a coach that was from Pulupandan, and there was a tournament. There's always paliga-liga around for beach volleyball because it's easy. It's two versus two,
Yeah.
and whenever there's fiesta, and there's fiesta in every town, sometimes even twice a year fiesta. So I that was the first time I actually got introduced to playing beach volleyball. And I love playing because I get to touch the ball more than the
Yeah.
indoor volleyball because you're six. And that was second year high school. But even before that, there used to be the Nesty Beach.
Okay.
Back when I was in sixth grade, I saw my idols, Carla Bellio and Charo Soriano, playing beach volleyball when I was in sixth grade. And I was just into it. I was even like getting Nesty merchandise and hoarding it. That was a fun experience for me being in that environment. And then fast forward to second year high school, I got to play it. And then every now and then we would join a few times lang. And then fast forward to college, Coach Roger Goreyev asked the team if there was anybody who used to play beach volleyball, and he picked me and Eliza to go to China and
Okay.
compete for the Asian University Games. So that was actually the first ever wherein I really trained for it, and to be partnered with Alyssa Valdez, I was just lucky enough, really. And we both fell in love with it. We both fell in love with the sport. That was the year when she was in her residency. So she
Yeah.
just moved from UST freshman in, which is stupid, by the way. Residency, it's just like you just prolong her life in college for her to play an extra year and for her to like be beast mode. Would you rather play in your freshman year or in your super senior year? I would rather play in my super senior year.
For sure.
But yeah, that's a good point, Bea. Good job at that. But yun, we played in China and we loved it. Like imagine Chinese people actually watching under the heat of the sun. Like that's a phenomenon. Sorry. But like, yeah, Asians don't normally like go out and
Yeah.
lay out the sun and like watch the game. But they were. So it was fun for us. And then we played UAAP after that. That was on our second year college. Uh, they decided that the indoor volleyball program will handle the beach volleyball. So we were again lucky enough to be able to represent Ateneo in the UAAP. And on our first year of playing, from last place, Ateneo was last place the entire time. We reached the finals, me and Eliza, but we got lost. So we got beat by UST on the third game, which we can't forget because we almost everybody thought we were gonna win already, and all of a sudden they just served at us, and the game's done. Anyway, and then they have that footage. I wouldn't probably watch it though. It's too funny. So,
Okay, I've actually always been curious about that. The indoor volleyball teams, I think what, a 14-person, 15-person lineup. How do they decide who's the three that represent for beach volleyball? Do you guys fight over who gets to play, or is it like whoever wants?
there was a point wherein it was that. after we reached the finals, obviously I'm not the best person in the indoor volleyball team at that moment or any moment. But I was given the spot by luck, I guess. But they see me, I'm pretty athletic. I'm probably the most athletic out of them. I just wasn't performing well in indoor volleyball. So they put me in beach with Alyssa. We won. We lost in the finals. Better to say we reached the finals. We reached the finals in our first try. And there's a lot of factor with regards to playing beach volleyball. Chemistry with your partner is also one. You cannot fight. Or at the very least, if you fight, you still, like a ground to hold wherein like, yup, we still got to do our business here. So pretty much that. So we clicked, and in the next year, most of the seniors wanted to play beach volleyball as well because it's fun. So they were saying, maybe if we change Bea Tan with someone else that's better indoor, maybe we can win the finals. But that didn't happen. So there was a mix-up in that year. And then the year after that, and then I actually got a hiatus in UAAP because I wanted to graduate after 4 years.
Yeah.
So my fourth playing year, in the middle, Coach Tai came in, and but I already overloaded everything because I wanted to graduate on time. So I graduated on time, won that year for indoor volleyball. We still lost in the freaking beach volleyball. We wanted a back-to-back. Like win beach volleyball and then win indoor, but priority is indoor volleyball. We never really get the time as much as the other teams who would win to train beach volleyball. So for a sore loser like me, I would say they worked harder. So yeah. And then I graduated after 4 years, and they lured me back in to play my fifth playing year after my 1 year hiatus of, I already started BVR basically. And then they went to me, and then it was just a good timing because I was considering on taking my MBA after a year. I went back here in Bacolod for 6 months, opened my business. I really am into business. Like when I was little, I used to write, what do I want to be? Oh, entrepreneur sounds good. So ever since I was little, I always wanted to be a businesswoman, an entrepreneur. I'm still working on that dream, by the way. So after college, I moved back to Bacolod. Am I boring you? It's really like my life.
No, it's
I went back to Bacolod, opened a business. After 6 months, opened another franchise, and then I went back to Manila, and I was like, yep, I can manage this thing even when my business is in Bacolod, and then I'll play again in Manila because the commercial leagues already was starting. So there was opportunity to play, and they pay pretty good money. So I was like, I'm bored here. I moved back to Manila, and then, hey, I'll play beach volleyball again. So played beach volleyball, was frustrated again because we didn't win, but we actually beat the team that won the championship, the finals. Sore loser. But after that, they invited me to play again because Coach Sai was already in his third year for Ateneo. And he's like, can you come back and play? You still have one more playing year. I want you. And I was like, okay, but I play beach first because beach volleyball is
first sem.
Yeah, first sem.
Yeah.
So my deal was, if you let Alyssa play with me beach volleyball, then I'll consider in coming back for indoor volleyball. And make sure she trains with me. She didn't train with me. And we didn't win beach volleyball. So I was like, okay, I'm not gonna play indoor volleyball. So there, after we lost, I just didn't show up in the indoor volleyball training anymore. but it was my loss. Come on, who wouldn't want to play for Ateneo another year indoor volleyball?
Yeah.
But I was already starting beach volleyball that time, so at that time that was really my priority. It was already
Mm.
starting. We were going around places, stuff like
Okay. Um, okay. Looking back though, you talked about earlier how you started out in volleyball, indoor volleyball, sorry. Because beach volleyball wasn't as popular as known. Now that you've started with BVR, now that you've started the whole program, you have the grassroots program, I think, if I'm not mistaken. If you were looking back, would you have preferred to start out in beach volleyball?
that. If this na lang, if I had a second life, I would
Yeah.
definitely just play beach volleyball. Like I would be on the court in the beach all day, every day, training for it more than indoor because, well, who doesn't want to be at the beach? Number
That's true.
one. And I do enjoy playing volleyball. So the marriage of both is just not comparable to anything. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm happy with beach volleyball. I would say that I could play it the rest of my life if I
Okay.
can.
Yeah. So speaking of BVR, could you give us a little glimpse of how the league started? Was it like a random idea that came up among friends and it just happened to pan out, or was it planned for such a long
I
time?
I think I think nothing just happens to pan out. You gotta have like the gusto and the passion and all the motivation that you can get with trying to stick with one thing. And definitely BVR was something that was a fun idea at the start. But what made us be able to jump from one place to another, creating tournaments after tournaments, is really because we love playing, we love seeing the game, we shared that journey with so many other people, not just the players, but the coaches, the referees, the fans, and building that from not necessarily nothing, but you see that there's so much potential with in terms of like its growth here in our country because we have so many beautiful beaches. That was something that grew on us already, but to begin with, it started when, for me, on my perspective, um I went back, as I've said, I went back from no playing, coming back here in Bacolod, after 4 years of college, taking a year break, and then going back to UAAP, and then losing. I was like, you know what? No, I cannot just stop playing now because it's my last playing year. Like, where will I play now? There's no more yet. So I
Yeah.
didn't want to end up there and just look back 10 years later and say, God damn, I was a beach volleyball player when I was in college, played for 4 years, and that was my last game. I lost. I didn't want my ending to be that way. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna create these tournaments and I'm gonna go around and when 5 years later when they're not that fit anymore and I'm still extra fit, I'm gonna beat them. So that's basically what happened. I'm not there yet, but we'll get there.
um
Yeah, that's how it motivated me to also like start Beach Volleyball Republic. But if it weren't for the people that came on board with it as well, Charo, who's like my senior when I entered college, she was already our coach, played a very big important role and is still playing for BVR. Z, Phil, and Gretchen also, like with starting everything and getting the media traction. And I mean those are big names in indoor volleyball. They played very big roles in terms of creating and making Beach Volleyball Republic happen.
But you were saying that all of your former players are still playing actually now. How do you guys balance, being both organizers, founders, and still play at the same time?
Balance is always like tipping off and finding that balance, right? It's never just one hit and then you're good. Like, it's always a matter of weighing, balancing the scale, because we're adding things from left and right. So if you really want what you want at the end of it, you really have to just figure it out. If I was in a position wherein there would be someone to create tournaments as how I would imagine it, then I would really just play. I would happily
Yeah.
just like give up my event organizer, tournament organizer hat and like put it on someone, as long as you do the job right. So, but no one's willing to do that. And I don't trust anyone else other than us in Beach Volleyball Republic to create a tournament with the same vision, with the same gusto, with the same passion. So if it takes for us, if it has to be us doing two things in one time, then we'll figure it out. And we are figuring it out, and we did figure it out, and we're still continuing to figure it out at the end of the day.
Yeah. Okay, that's nice.
Yeah.
um okay, I kind of wanted to get to know also um how it is to organize the event. Like, how do you guys first choose the place? Because you've been all around the Philippines. What are the factors that go into it, or do the local governments now like come knocking and ask for you to set up a tournament?
There are, because, and also with the help of the popularity of volleyball, pretty much that gave us a way wherein it was very easy for us to go around different places wherever we want, you name it. um, and they're very accepting, and I don't know if it's us just being so passionate about it and promoting it, and also with the fact that volleyball is big and beach volleyball is a lot similar to indoor volleyball. A lot of people were very accepting up until now. There are a lot of places that would ask for us to go, but at the end of the day, if they're capable and if they have the capacity to host BVR, that's when we say yes. So there's a lot of
Okay.
factors that come into play, like the court size, the beach size, the playability, the partners. So we don't just partner normally with local government. We need to partner with like the resorts, the
Yeah.
brands that would support us. So like Seafront, through Boytisland, through Sir John, supported us for 2, even 3 years, I think.
Yeah.
And that played a big role in terms of reaching other places like Cebu. We went to Bantayan Island because of Aboitiz. So yeah, because some of the government LGUs wouldn't actually have the budget, they prioritize other things, and volleyball won't be that much of a priority. So we would need other funds from sponsors, and corporate sponsors come in play. So yeah, other than us wanting to go to a certain place, we need good partners with that as well.
So you've been doing this for 5 years now. Um, and actually wanted to get your thoughts on the quality of play that we have now in the country. Obviously, we just had the SEA Games last year, and we saw. I think I wanted to get your thoughts on how big of an impact you think BVR has had on the sport, both in terms of the support it's getting
What
and
I,
quality of
yeah, what I
players.
what I really liked about it is that there were three people. Well, mostly BVR founders were key people in that SEA Games tournament, SEA Games event for beach volleyball. Z Herbacio, one of our founders, were one of the players. Charo Soriano was managing our Philippine team, and I was I forgot my role in the organizing event, but they put me as one of the organizers as well, and that was a good learning experience from us, and also a testament that what we've been doing with Beach Volleyball Republic, putting up events, giving opportunity for players and these referees to experience the game, to get to know the game, played a big role. And it's just so nice to be able to see so many referees from all over the country come and be in one place and recognize that, hey, Beach Volleyball Republic is the reason why we knew each other, and we got to source so many referees from different places. You name it. Big Bad, where were they from? Like Mindanao, Visayas, and Luzon. Like even from people from Cagayan province to Cagayan de Oro to Davao to Bacolod to Iloilo. They were all there, and they recognized that if it weren't for BVR, they wouldn't have been able to practice like refereeing or get the opportunity to meet also the nationals. So in one way or another, looking back, we really wanted to, because I'm from the province, we really wanted to erase the fine line between, like, if you're from Manila, then you're iba, if you're from then the other people from the province, because that's also the stigma when it comes to us being players. Now, if from Manila, different from the province, and the fact that for so long we've never made it into the podium finish for beach volleyball, and the fact that we had a back-to-back bronze is, I'm still getting goosebumps. Is really something, and we can say that what we've been doing with the program, having continuous tournaments, because at the end of the day, getting exposed to the games is how the coaches can see, how the coaches can scout who has potential, and how the players can also get as much exposure as they can. And apart from that, BVR would also actually bring in from time to time, or actually it's been consistent already. Every tournament we have international players that plays, because that hoists up the competitiveness of our players locally, because they would want to train some more because there's competition, and you know that, like, all those that are winning locally would up their game and train some more, and at the end of the day, whoever you're competing against, you become them, so you become better as well. That's the logic behind it, and I really do think that, and I'm very happy that we were able to do that with the SEA Games, and hopefully we can do some more events and tournaments for beach volleyball, to really actually not just a hashtag superficial grow the game, but actually grow the game.
Okay, before, I was actually gonna ask, it's been 5 years. What's in store for the next 5 years? But before that, I wanted to know, you have done double time as an indoor and a beach volleyball player. A lot of if I'm not mistaken, a lot of the BVR players are also playing in PSL or PVL. But do you see that as being as that being the norm for the future, or do you see it becoming like full-time beach volleyball for some?
Definitely. We would want it to be full-time beach volleyball, but that would always just end up to, if there's better opportunity for these players in beach volleyball. So the management of the teams, the management of the players, the management of coaches, and being it as an ecosystem has to be sustainable enough for them to move to beach volleyball. And that's what we've been trying to create for a while now, that hopefully in time we're not just a weekender kind of thing for athletes, but actually like a full-time kind of thing wherein they train every day. Some actually would already do that. There's Screamline already, that created a team where Charo manages as well. That's actually the fruit of the SEA Games, wherein at the very least we would have the best beach volleyball players just focused on playing beach volleyball. So internationally, we can be a lot more competitive and bring our country, our flag abroad, and be actually like win games. So it's an investment. It's a long-term investment, but we believe in the talent that we have here locally, and at the very least that's already a starting point, that if Creamline as a commercial team can create that, then if I mean it's just two players to create a team. How heavy of an investment could that really be? But a factor would be traveling abroad, joining tournaments, getting more exposure is one thing. And that's actually what was most exciting about supposedly coming in this year, that Creamline created a club team already, but well, it's put on hold. So
Yeah.
it's actually a perfect time for us to plan as well, like considering the fact that beach volleyball and indoor volleyball is at a pause right now, then and having the likability of beach volleyball to start before indoor volleyball, then maybe those indoor volleyball teams, commercial clubs can create um teams around their beach volleyball teams around their indoor volleyball team, because I mean that's just two players. That's what I've been um promoting actually with all the commercial club teams in PVL and in PSL, to already create a beach volleyball team that's just solely focused on beach volleyball, and we can create another platform wherein they can market their product with continuity and not just a one-time thing for PSL or for PVL. So at the very least, create a team. We can bring them everywhere. It's a nationwide campaign, and most of the brands are also nationwide distributed brands. So it just makes a lot of sense at that, but I guess it makes more sense now that like everybody's not doing anything.
So basically looking forward, like I was mentioning earlier, 5 years done. In the next 5 years, I guess, would you consider that to be your goal from now, from this
Definitely.
point?
Yeah. I mean, more than there's already a lot of a surplus of teams that we can invite internationally, but what we would want and to really create that perfect picture would be contenders in the Philippines that can play against those international players.
Yeah.
So little by little we would want local talents to focus in beach volleyball. So if you're thinking about sports tourism and sports entertainment, there's a storyline that they can follow. That hey, Team USA, Team Africa, Team Korea, come here to the Philippines. We have good players. We want you to challenge them. That's one thing. And locals and fans would come and watch and see our Filipinos play against each other and also against these international teams, and it can actually create a very entertaining event. That's how I envision Beach Volleyball Republic. Hopefully, in like 2-3 years from now, we've been
Yeah.
attempting with the FIVB World Tour, hosting that here for 2 years in a row, 2018 and 2019. One in Manila and one in Boracay, bringing in like around 50 teams, international teams from all over the world, 17 countries. And that's one big thing that it's a really good mileage for the Philippines to actually be able to host a certain event, an FIVB World Tour for beach volleyball. So if we can recreate that and have the fans be enticed and have all the sponsors look into it to support and create a massive tournament, then that would be a dream come true for me. And if I can play, why not?
Of course. Okay. Just a few more before we end. I just wanted to, get your opinion or get your advice for the kids and, even the adults who are thinking about trying out the sport. How would you suggest they get started, both if we return to normalcy, and even like what they can do now
Wait,
while still on quarantine.
can you say that again? Sorry.
Oh, yeah. So what would you how would you suggest that kids and even adults who are thinking of trying the sport start out? Whether it's when we return to normal or even now while we're still in this lockdown, in this quarantine.
One thing that also like frustrates me a little bit is that volleyball is such a technical sport wherein you cannot just pick up a ball and learn how to
Mm.
dig and have perfect control. It needs patience. It needs proper guidance with a coach that actually knows how. And I hope kids who would want to pick up the sport and try to learn would self learn, if not get a coach. But also, like, the easiest way is to pick up a ball and play the YouTube videos and try to learn. Because I haven't really experienced or have known anybody who self-taught volleyball, because the more that you play the game is actually the most experience and then that you can get. So um well, if you can volley the ball, you've seen the who's that, the really pretty girl, Marv, no, DC, super, not Superwoman, is she Superwoman? I
Wonder
think she's
Woman.
Wonder Woman. What? They sorry, it's already past 6 p.m. and my brain is just not working anymore after 6. Yeah, Wonder Woman, like trying to learn awkward volleyball. That's how awkward you will be at the start. But yeah, pick up a ball and do some pepper with your parents or your yaya if they're interested. That would be one thing. But I know that there's online coaching through sila Gia. They can join that, Solid Sevens. Um, and also, there's also some online coaching with Nicole Tiamzon. They can join that as well if they're interested to learn and try to stay active in this pandemic. Although I've seen the football online schools um doing pretty well, because I
Yeah.
guess it's just really like kicking the ball, like going around, juggling it. Not much like when you do the volleyball. It really needs to be like, just, I guess you can learn how to set, you can learn how to like walling, but it's totally different because you need two people. You can't play football and hit a target. You cannot volley to just yourself. You need something else. So yeah, I guess that's one of the struggle right now with the pandemic and everything. But I do hope that
Yeah.
soon enough we can already practice and return to play.
Okay. Um, just one a quick segment before we end. I do this segment called Change Court, Change Sport. So I just want to kind of get to know the athletes and what other sports they're interested in. So first
Okay.
would be whether it's now or in the future when you retire or whatever. If you could play any other sport, competitively or leisurely, what would you want to try?
Triathlon. I've been swimming and running so much. I just maybe
Okay.
duathlon first.
Yeah.
Duathlon? Duathlon.
Do do
Aquathlon? I
epic
don't know.
yeah.
But yeah, but anything with running and swimming, I would want to try that. That's number one. Yeah,
Okay.
competitively, I don't know. Maybe because like there's social distancing there, right? So
Maybe if you're like fast enough, yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
I would try
One
that.
last. Um, Here in the Philippines, who would you say is your favorite athlete from a different sport?
In the Philippines, who's my favorite athlete? If I was just in a podcast with Ines Lovina. I forgot her, that's her maiden name, Ines
Okay.
Lovina. She's the number one Filipina in triathlon
Okay.
in her age bracket. I think she's around 30, 40, 30 to 40 or 30 to 35, somewhere there. But I met her and apparently she's the world's Ironman, if I'm not sure, gold medalist. So she's pretty good. And
Yeah.
that's the only person that I can think of right now. And I idolize her for that one.
Okay. Great. Yeah. Okay. So I guess before we end, do you have any last messages to the beach volleyball fans, aspiring players, and just general Philippine sports fans and supporters?
Sorry, message. I'm so
Yeah.
message for who are we
Yeah, just beach
talking to?
volleyball fans, aspiring players, just general fans, I guess, for Philippine sports.
Okay. Well, I hope general message. I hope that everybody remains positive as we try and wait for sports to resume, and we all are very excited, but also very let's just stick with that. Very excited for the time to come wherein we can play again, we can practice again, and we can be with each other again and watch sports together as well. So I know it's difficult times nowadays, and a lot of people are struggling. And I really do hope that we find the glimmer of hope in everyday things that we do, and remain positive and stick with each other.
All right. Thank you, Bea, again for coming on the
Yeah,
podcast. We're
the sun is
wishing you the
already
best.
down.
Yeah, wishing you the best for your career, the whole BVR program, and hoping you guys will get the chance to play again real soon.
All right. Yeah,
And
thank you so much for your time.
thank you also to everyone for tuning in. Again, please don't forget to follow us on our social media accounts. We are Sports Season on Facebook, YouTube, and Spotify. So please do like and subscribe. And you can also follow us on Instagram. That's at Sports Season Pod.